Hello, 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 hello. Welcome back to my channel. It's your girl Sharon, aka the Mel Nostalgic Runner, and we are back for another episode of The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. And this season, hold on. I keep doing that. I don't know why I keep doing that. What season is this? Season 14, and this is episode 15. And I think it's called Trouble in Paradise. I think it was what it was called, the episode. But let me be honest with you. I think I had this conversation last review. Not much is happening with this season of Beverly Hills. I'm not going to hold you. I was kind of bored with this episode. Things to me did not really start to pick up and make me feel like, okay, I'm locked in. Really until they decide they're going to finally go on this cast trip. But prior to the cast trip, I'm just like, I don't really care with what's happening because it's just more of the same thing and not really much of anything else going on. And I'm just curious, do any of you guys feel that way too? Also, before we get into the review, let me address the elephant in the room. Yes, you could tell I'm not on video today. Y'all probably saw my review that I did for Real Housewives of Atlanta it probably came out, I think, Monday, but I filmed it on Sunday. And I apologize ahead of time, one more time for that, because it just was not my best review because I was fighting getting sick. And child, I got sick, and I still am sick. You can probably hear it in my voice. I sound a little nasally, and child, that's why. And as a result, I look like a hot mess. And I'm kind of irritated because, for those who know, my other thing that I do is I'm a runner, and this is supposed to be my first week of me training. And I did get a run in on Monday somehow, some way, even though I did not feel great. But yesterday, oh, child. I saw the episode yesterday and everything, but I was like, there's no way I can do this review because I feel and sound like death. My head felt like it weighed 1,000 pounds. Today, I feel a little bit better just because I got some rest and I actually had to skip early morning meeting. I apologize to everyone. I was like, look, but everyone understood because they heard me in the meeting on Tuesday that I was leading and they could tell I was sick. So anyway, I know that's not why you're here, but I'm going to do a different approach when it comes to this review because again, this episode was, I ain't gonna hold you, to me it was kind of a snooze fest. So I'll go over what's going on with all the ladies individually and then kind of conclude it with them being on the trip. So there we go. So, I'm actually not necessarily going to go in particular order. Let's go with Sutton first. So Sutton, nothing really happened this episode when it came to Sutton other than they still Sutton's still having the issues with Dorit. And really she hasn't had to really deal with it or really address it until they got on the trip. And the trip that they are going to that I am high-key jealous of, and I've found out a new fact about is the cast trip is St. Lucia. And I did not know that St. Lucia was the only country in the world that's named after a woman. I did not know that. And so Sutton at the resort, once they're there, she's still kind of going back and forth when it comes to the Dorit of it all. And so that is still a thing. But outside of that, we didn't really see much of Sutton this episode. So yeah, I'm just gonna kind of leave it at that, and then when we conclude the episode or my review, we'll get more into that. So yeah, that's kind of all that really Sutton had going on this episode. Now Kyle. I hate to say this, but I think this is the reason why I'm kind of bored. I was bored to tears with this episode. Because what is happening with Kyle is we're still going over the aftermath of this picture of Mauricio with that other woman. Now, it did have a conclusion because Mauricio finally did come back to the house and they talked it over. And at first they weren't going to talk it over. We actually found out in the after show Mauricio was originally not going to address it, and then he turned around and actually addressed it. So she was actually pleasantly surprised by that. But really, the conclusion of this is now Kyle can stop being Delulu and realize that the relationship is over with. It can never go back to what it was before. And her thinking otherwise was just her being extremely delusional. So now she knows that. We still don't really have a concrete answer if she's ever going to divorce this man or not, because it actually did come up prior to Mo coming to the house. Bose actually came over to her place and actually they had one-on-one time. And Kyle was actually being real with her for once. There was no ulterior motive. She actually, opened up to Bose. And hopefully now Bose can stop saying that Kyle's cold. I think what Bose states of Kyle being cold is Kyle basically stating, I don't know you, so I'm not telling you my business just to tell you my business. Like, there's that. But anyway, they did talk it over, and Bose, when they were talking back and forth, and we'll get more into what Bose said, was basically a great support for Kyle, and Kyle did, they learned a lot from each other when they did have the conversation prior to Mo coming to the place, and Kyle, coming up with a conclusion that, look, the way things are, it can't stay this way. It's time to move on. And I'm glad Kyle was finally at a place where she realized it's time to move on. The picture is what got her there. So maybe in a weird way, I'm glad that the picture happened because clearly she needed that to happen. But I guess my whole problem is with this whole entire conversation when it comes to the Kyle and Mauricio part, it's like they want us to forget. And I think it was Garcelle and Sutton talking about this. And even to a certain degree, the episode before, Dorit, it's like Kyle wants us to forget that you are propping up your lesbian relationship or pseudo lesbian relationship all last season, flaunting that in front of the whole entire world, and now you're upset about one picture that the paparazzi took, whereas you were flaunting this girl around all last season. And so what bothers me about the whole entire thing is like, okay, so we're supposed to be, I feel sorry for Kyle, not because of the Mo thing. I feel more sorry for Kyle because of the empty nest thing. And I think it would do Kyle a service to realize that she has more than one thing going on and like actually take accountability for the Mo part, because neither of them were okay. Neither of them did things quite right when it came to that. Or if there is something else that led to Kyle doing what she did with, I forgot that lady's name. I already said it too, and I forgot her name already as quickly as I said it. Kyle got what she wanted. The lesbian relationship, I'll just say that. If it would probably made us as viewers feel differently if we knew what led to her having this dramatic change. I know part of it was her best friend died, and that was a big deal. I understand that. When tragedies happen in your life, it does change how you view a lot of things. But she alluded to Mo betrayed her, but we never figure out what the betrayal was. And I don't think we necessarily need to know what the betrayal was exactly, but if you would just said like, potential infidelity, like don't say exactly. I mean, I guess because infidelity can mean so many things, or like financial, like what was it? I think because us as viewers don't know what it was that Mauricio did. And then even on Mo's show, when he, had his show on Netflix, we don't know. He didn't really state what he did. So it just really looks like Kyle's the one who started all this. And then now she's like butthurt because Mo's like, okay, whatever. I'm going to do my own thing too. Like, that's how it comes off. And I know Kyle acts like she doesn't care, but clearly she cares. So it's just, I don't know. That's part of why I think us as viewers, we struggle when it comes to the Kyle situation, because I think a lot of us want to like her. I want to like Kyle. I do. It's really weird. I want to like her. Maybe because she's like the staple of the show. But I have a hard time liking her because the victimhood of it all, I just can't. I can't do that with her. I just can't. I can't. But anyway, that's kind of what happened with Kyle for the most part. And of course, fast forward when the trip happened, she was happy about going on the trip because, child, she needed to get away from everything that was going on. That was Beverly Hills. So, boom. And so next we have Kathy. Kathy, she's a friend of, so we're not going to have a lot from her. So the only thing that really kind of came up when it came to this episode is that she kind of was recapping her going viral over her basically being a disruptor of a fashion show. And part of me, so now seeing her reaction, I think she kind of really wasn't, and she even explained the after show that she didn't know that the fashion show was going to start on time for real. So I think she just didn't, yeah. I guess based off of her confessional, it seemed like she really genuinely was not trying to do that. Like, she's done it before, but she wasn't really trying to this time. Child, believe it or whatever you want to believe is wherever you want to believe there. And then the other thing that we got from Kathy this episode is that she did also go on the cast trip. So that's awesome. We have everyone on the cast trip. And so she had all her things set up, and she was setting up all her things, unpacking all her things once they got there. And she basically, whenever she goes on a cast trip, she decides she is going to make it like her home. Also, I probably should mention this, but we'll get to that when we get to the cast trip part of it a little bit more in detail of who's sharing rooms and stuff like that. But on the after show, Kathy did explain that she is someone who does not know how to pack light. She has done a lot better throughout the years because her packing the way she wants to, her overly packing can cause, her luggage to get lost. And so Rick doesn't like that. And so she kind of has switched it up where she just basically makes sure she packs her creature comfort things. And that's that on that. But that's pretty much all we got from Kathy this episode. Child, side note, it is a great thing that I'm doing this the way I'm doing it versus doing this on video. If y'all only knew how many times I've been coughing, it's not cute. Anyway, so then the next person we have Jennifer Tilly. We don't really see Jennifer Tilly too much in this episode other than her getting ready to go on the trip and then her going on the trip and her finding out when she was unpacking, she brings candies with her. And I guess the candies that she has basically help soothe her when the ladies are fighting and arguing on the show. And so she has that. And so she, the candies went everywhere. She was like freaking out. So that's kind of, but not crazy freaking out, but just like, oh no, like, what am I going to use when we're fighting? And also too, towards the end of the episode, when she was talking to Sutton, when they were in St. Lucia, they kind of got into the dynamic of the group a little bit more. And we'll get more into that again when we talk more about once they're on the trip. Because prior to that, she wasn't really in this episode. So there's that. Okay, so then with Garcelle is basically, this episode, she was just really mainly talking to Sutton about the Dorit thing of it all. And, oh yeah, I forgot to mention, Sutton did talk to Garcelle about Dorit earlier in the episode before they talked about it when they were on the trip. But I guess, again, even with that, I'm kind of over that a little bit to a certain extent. Because in real life, if y'all don't like each other, y'all can just move accordingly and not keep trying to rehash and try to make fetch happen. And to me, Dorit trying to be friends with Sutton or even vice versa is trying to make fetch happen. Y'all just ain't gonna get along, and that's totally fine. Y'all can be cordial and keep it cute and not, intentionally try to egg each other on. But I don't know. Maybe that's just being mature. I don't know. But anyway, outside of that, Garcelle talked to Sutton about how the dynamic between Dorit and Kyle, and she also spilled some tea that she feels, in her opinion, when Kyle and Dorit are not getting along, that's actually good for Sun because that helps Sun get closer with Kyle. But when Kyle and Dorit are getting along, um, that makes it where Sun's in the outs. And I'm glad that even as Garcelle is Sun's best friend, she saw the obvious, and we do that does get kind of get rehashed a little bit towards the end of the episode. And I did see sneak preview of the next episode; it kind of comes up again, and yeah, I find that very very interesting. Um, just because these women are like in their mid to late 40s and early 50s, and they're it's legit like it's basically high school. They are describing high school, and and that's why Garcelle could just call it out and point it out. Outside of that, Garcelle doesn't really have much going on this episode. And one thing I will say, and maybe this is the other reason why, I don't know. I kind of want other people's opinions. I really wish, and this has been my main thing when it comes to Garcelle pretty much almost every season. We know Garcelle is working. She's booked and busy. Why aren't we seeing her doing more of that? Like, the beach house to me was like literally her only storyline this season. And after that, then we didn't really see anything else. When we know she's booked and busy and we could be seeing her, working. But instead, a lot of times when we see her doing that, it's like one of those montage scenes, so we don't really get more into the details. Or even with her son modeling. Instead of it being a montage, why isn't that a storyline? I guess I'm kind of confused by it. Or is the son maybe the son doesn't want to be on TV that much? Like he's okay with just allowing like, hey, the modeling thing. But like, I'm sure she's helping him with his career. And it doesn't necessarily have to be us following him per se. Maybe we can understand like who did she decide to pick as a manager for him? Stuff like that. I would be extremely interested in learning more about that. But instead, I don't know. I just feel like there's so much potential for more to be going on this season. And we're just not focusing on it at all. And I do not understand it. Sun has gave us everything. Sun has gave us something. Like Sun gives us something every season, so I'm not really complaining with her about it. Kyle, we already addressed how I feel about that situation. Kathy and Jennifer Tilly, those are friend ofs. Although I would love for Jennifer Tilly to become full time, but I don't know if the rest of the ladies would ever agree with that. And with Garcelle, yeah, that's how I feel about Garcelle. But yeah, let's talk about what's going on with all the other ladies. And then once I talk about what's going on with all the other ladies, and we'll kind of fast forward to St. Lucia. And I think I'm going to do the same thing what I did with Garcelle just now about what else we could be seeing when it comes to the rest of the ladies. Okay, so next we have Erica. And Erica ain't got nothing going on this season, let's be real. I think the only thing that we saw this season... the only thing that happened really this episode prior to them actually going on the trip is that Erica invited Dorit and Bose to her place. They checked out her new place. And then Bose, kind of gave the care package for the trip for them to go to St. Lucia. The care package looked amazing. And right away, they kind of stated that they're going to be in rooms together. And them three are definitely clicked up. That's kind of what's happening here. That's definitely what's the tea for that. And with Erica, I guess I'm trying to figure out what else could happen as far as like Erica's story. Maybe with Erica's story, the other thing that we could talk about is because I don't know how. Did we ever come up with a conclusion? How did her Vegas residency go? Like, was it a success? Did we have to watch the spinoff to find that out? Because I was not going to watch that spinoff. I ain't gonna hold you. I was not going to do it. I don't care enough for Erica to see a spinoff of hers. Also, the other thing that I noticed, especially this episode, it was kind of obvious leading up to. What is Erica's issue with Garcelle? I think Erica totally has an issue with not just like she doesn't just have an issue with Sutton. She has an issue with Sutton and Garcelle. And Erica, honestly, when it comes to you and your entitlement, how you said, what about me, this, that, and this, and you lost that privilege as soon as you cussed out Garcelle's teenage son. You lost the privilege. And the way you're acting when it comes to Garcelle of it all, of how Garcelle treats you and always, has Sutton's back, and you make it sound like they didn't have any sympathy for you. Garcelle should not have any sympathy for you at all because you cussed out her son. Really, the screen show went black as soon as you did that, and Garcelle wouldn't be on the show anymore, realistically. So, like, you're so lucky that Garcelle is a lady of class and chose to forgive you. So, for you to, like, fix your mouth when you're talking with Dorit and Bose about how, Sutton doesn't like, because they were talking about, of course, Dorit was talking to them about the Sutton situation. And Dorit mentioned how she actually met up with Garcelle at last episode and kind of was talking about how Garcelle kind of treats Sutton with kid gloves. And it's like she does to a certain extent, but also, Dorit, be so for real. Garcelle is friends with Sutton. She's not friends with you. Her loyalty is going to be towards her. It's that simple. It's not really rocket science. And then out of nowhere, Erica's like, well, what about me? They treated me so horrible. They had no sympathy for me, what I had going on and what I had going through. I was going through this, that, and this, and it's like, Erica, you made it hard. This is where I wish her therapist was there, because her therapist has wheeled her in multiple times to kind of remind her, like, girl, you did not give the ladies the grace for them to give you grace. You didn't give them anything to do that for you. And Erica's standpoint is like, they were prying in my business and saying this, that, and this, and no, do not put Garcelle in that. Sutton was doing that because she was asking the questions that we all wanted to know as the people. But Garcelle only really started getting on your behind once you decide you're going to cuss out her son. After that, I'm sorry, get her again and again and again. So Erica, I'm going to need you to scoot back when it comes to all that. You need to, set that base way down. I just can't with you, Erica. And this episode kind of remind me why Erica just gets on my nerves at times. But I guess the other thing, back to like what Erica could be doing or we could be seeing besides this interior design being her whole entire storyline. Didn't she get invited to do Chicago again or something like that? Like, they talked about it, but we didn't see how that happened. I just kind of want to know how these things are happening for her now that she don't have, like, the Tom Girardi of it all. I'm confused on how all this is happening. Is anyone else thinking that way? I don't know. But, I mean, I guess we're just never going to see the real when it comes to Erica. And I've been come to terms with that. We're never going to see the real when it comes to Erica. So we're only going to see the surface version of her because she's surface. And that's what it is. And when it comes to a lot of cast members, it's fine. And yes, this cast as a whole, they're entertaining. But, like, this season for me, Beverly Hills is missing something. Bozoma, no. You continue doing what you're doing. And even Sutton, continue doing what you're doing. And then Jennifer Tilly, awesome. But the rest of the ladies, I'm kind of like, damn, they're just coasting, in my opinion, my personal. But anyway, moving on, let's get to the last two cast members, and then we'll talk about what them being out at St. Lucia. Okay, so I mentioned that Dorit is still kind of talking back and forth about the whole thing with her and Sutton. So that's fine. And the other thing that I will say that happened this episode with Dorit is she actually met with PK again. They went out to dinner. And that dinner was awkward yet again. It was actually more awkward than the one before. It was actually worse. And we understand why. And for those who are just don't know if you should believe whether they're separated or not, I personally think they really are separated, but the thing is, I think they've been separated. I don't think it was just this season this happened. I think they were putting a front that they were a unite front much longer than they were. I think they've been separated. I think the counseling that they had, they were already separated at that point. And yeah, I'm just kind of just I don't care about the storyline, I guess is part of my problem with this. Because when it comes to Dorit and PK, we don't know what's real and what's fake with them. Because, yeah, they and I think that's part of the reason why us as viewers, we can't be, I feel like a lot of us are not completely invested in this storyline because of that. Because we don't know what's real and we don't know what's not. Like, we're ignoring the fact that she has a alleged foreclosure on her house, and the boxes everywhere when they're at her house was because of that. We're ignoring that. But we're saying that's because of a separation. And so I think that's what makes people think, is it really a separation? Or is it because you guys have to put on the front because you have other things going on that you're trying to hide? And that's kind of what everyone's issues are with Dorit. Also, too, the other thing that I will say when it came to the PK and Dorit and them meeting up, I find it very, very, I don't know, very, I don't know the word to say. Y'all can help me find it when I describe the seeing of things. So they're out at lunch, and PK is ordering a non-alcoholic drink. But then Dorit is ordering her normal drink, like her alcoholic drink. And every time that this has happened, because it's the second time it's happened, you're claiming your soon-to-be ex-husband is alcoholic, but not once have I ever seen you ask, is it okay if I order a drink? And honestly, I wouldn't even do it. Do you need to actually order a drink to hang out with your husband? If he's truly a recovering alcoholic and he's only stopped drinking for a little bit, why would you order a drink around him? Can't you just not drink? I don't know. That to me is kind of telling. And no. For those who think I am on PK's side, oh, absolutely not. I think he is a complete tool and a complete immature grown man. And it's really sad and tragic. So it's not that. It's definitely not that. But it's just one of those things where I don't know if Dorit realizes, but on the way she acts, she's not fooling us to think that she's the saint and he's the only one that's the problem. They're both the problem. It's just I don't think either of them should be together, and at this point, why aren't we just moving on? And it was weird in the dinner that she's asking PK, do you want a divorce? It's why do you need to wait for this man to tell you that he wants a divorce? How about you take control of your own destiny and just be done with it? Both y'all money's funny, so it's not like you're going to get anything out of it. And you're already in the house. So go ahead and just do it. I'm so confused. Or maybe she's trying to hang on to that 10-year thing, but does it make sense to hang on to a 10-year thing when there's no money? I'm just so confused. I'm so confused. Anyway, so that's kind of what happened with Dorit. It's just more of the same thing. I don't, that's kind of it. Anyway, let's get to Bose. Okay, so with Bose, again, I mentioned that Bose did visit Erica with Dorit, and so we kind of talked about that, right? And then Bose actually did somewhat shade Sutton when it came to the fashion show, because the fashions didn't really have fashions. And I ain't gonna hold you, I kind of agree with Bose a little bit, but girl, Bose, respectfully, the wigs. I've been trying to let it go for so long. The wigs. The wigs. I love how you had your hair when you're on vacation. I love that. And I love when you don't have that extra swoop. I don't know. It's just so much hair. So much hair. But anyway, outside of that, the other thing that happened this episode with Bose is she's talking about how she thinks this is going to be a sisterhood trip. And she has all these high expectations when she's talking to her sister Nico about it. Nico's like, I don't know what type of trips you go on, but that is not, that's not how they go. That's not how they go. Um, and so then the other thing that happened this episode with Bose is Keely came over to dinner with her daughter and her. And the daughter just proceeded to grill Keely and ask the questions that child Bose really should have been the one asking these questions this whole entire time to him. And Bose even admitted in confessional, she's like, yeah, these are the questions that I should have been asking, but like I was just kind of afraid to like approach it, so I kind of skate through it. And I'm glad the daughter had enough sense to do that, but at the same time, Bose. You know, I came up with a conclusion with Bose, and I get it because I'm kind of the same way, or have been in the past, but I'm working on it, like actively working on it. She's a boss when it comes to her business and career. She's like very much career oriented, work and all that good stuff, and has been. And I find women like us, because I'm kind of like that too. I'm just not as high of a level as her, not even close to that. Like I'm doubting, and now I'm at the point where I don't even really want to be all like that anymore because I'm just kind of like, nah, never mind. But other than like maybe if I had my own business, but when it comes to people with that kind of personality who are very career oriented as women, I think we just seek an overly soft landing for a relationship to a point where we get very delulu about relationship expectations. And you're almost afraid to rock the boat when it comes to relationships because you're so strong and so alpha in your career. And you don't want to have to be that alpha in your own relationship to the point where you almost, pacify things that you shouldn't pacify, if that makes sense at all. Like, to the point where you don't want to waste time, you want to move forward and proceed, but at the same time, and that's kind of also a bossy type thing that you're doing. You're trying to proceed, move forward, and very fast track do it. But at the same time, you're doing that with someone that you don't even know for real because you didn't really take the time to know them. And you have these delusional thoughts about that all people have the best interests at heart for you. And it's something where if you haven't had the time to really work on yourself and kind of figure out that your relationship version of you and your career version of you are different people, and you need to figure out how to cultivate all those different types of like social dynamics, I think you have a tough time figuring out that what works in one area is not going to work for another area. And for Bose, I'm noticing that as her across the board. I think she approaches everything as if it's a career, and it's just not. That's not it. Because even when it comes to the friendship dynamic of this group, she's acting like it's a business. And yes, friendship can be a business, but a lot of times emotions change how a friendship works. So I'm curious because I think she's an Aquarius, but I wonder does she have some Capricorn in her chart, because it's giving Capricorn Aquarius cusp. Because Aquarius is that dreamy side that's kind of delusional a little bit there, but that Capricorn's probably the side who's like all business, everything's a business. I don't know. That's just kind of my thought on that. But yeah, I was glad that the Dar was asking all the questions that we need to know. And Keely's answers, they were great answers, but I still got my good eye on him because again, they have not known each other long enough to know what the real is. And I'm not trying to be negative because I notice a lot of people are overly negative about what's going on with Bose and Keely. And we don't know their inner workings of their relationship like that. But at the same time, I kind of don't think they know that either, because I think, just in my opinion, I think you need to know each other longer to really know all that. I think time is going to be the only thing that will factor in all the other questions and all the other things as far as like if this is going to work or not. So that's kind of my thoughts on that. Other than that, I did mention when I was talking about Kyle that Bose did go and pay Kyle a visit. and was kind of a soft landing for Kyle, which was great. And Kyle was actually vulnerable and kind of started crying out about, how Kyle finally kind of told us the truth and realized, and we kind of already knew this. Kyle didn't want a divorce. She doesn't want a divorce. I think she just wanted to separate for a little bit and figure things out and then get back together. I think that was her intentions. But the problem is she didn't communicate that with Mo. So Mo moved on. So I think that's part of the problem. But anyway. And same thing, and you know what? It's kind of a common thing of even what PK and Dorit's happening. There's no communication. Like Dorit and Kyle, to me, they're so similar when it comes to like how they want to approach the separation. They want it to be a pause and then resume, whereas the men are like, no, we're done. We're done. And it's fascinating to me that they don't realize that that's what it is. But, that's outside looking in. But Bose, she kind of did share a little bit more about her situation of how she was about to she was about to do the separation, and she did do a separation with her former husband, via, him passing away. But then when the terminal illness thing happened, she at first was like, you know what? I'm not going to sign the papers. We're just going to be separated and live separate lives. But then when the terminal illness happened, she saw her ex-husband or estranged husband with the new lady, and the lady was like comforting him in the hospital. She straight up was like, get this bitch out of here. Nope. No. And pushed her out of there and was like, nope. We're going to see it through to the end. I don't care. We're going to see it through to the end. And in the after show, she kind of elaborated on it more. And Dorit was like, so how'd your husband react to that? It was like, oh no, he was happy as a clam. That's what he wanted the whole entire time. So yeah. So that's kind of how that ended. And we found out too that once the terminal illness thing happened, the doctor gave him 2 weeks to live, but he lasted 6 months. And so I think Bose has a lot going on when it comes to that. And I think that also does tie in more into what's going on with her and Keely. I think she said that she did take the time to like Keely, I guess, is the first partner that she's introduced to her daughter since her ex-husband. So, I mean, clearly there's something there that maybe we're not seeing on our side on the camera that Bose, sees differently. But because you also have to be real, let's be real. People who don't, Keely didn't sign up for this show. Bose did. So I feel like a lot of the guys that come on these shows, or a lot of the partners that come on these shows, because I think even with like Morgan, there we go, that's the name. When Morgan was on the show, like if you didn't sign up for this, it's very abrasive, and you're not going to show your full self on this show. So we're only getting a very small sample size of how these people are when it comes to the people that they're supporting on the show. So I'm trying to remind myself that that's also part of what I'm seeing here, and not be fully like, oh my gosh, Bose, what are you doing? You're crazy. I think she is now finally like, my life is my destiny, and I'm going to live life for myself now. And, I'm in my late 40s, so whatever happens, and it's fine. And really, what's wrong with that? So, okay. Let's get to the actual trip. So they end up all Bose was cracking me up in this episode because she was like, she really thought this trip was going to be a sisterhood trip. It's like, girl, you really don't understand how Housewives work. That's the cast trip is where the drama really be popping off. So actually, it's like the opposite. But they're veterans. They know how to have fun on the trip, but then have the drama at the same time. So anyway. So we see the ladies, they meet at LAX, and then from LAX, and they go to Miami, and then from Miami, they're at St. Lucia. And then they get to this resort, and this resort is gorgeous. Gorgeous, 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 gorgeous. To the point where I was like, dang, I really want to go somewhere in the Caribbean. So I'm thinking, I don't know. I need to make a trip. I'm going to have to book a trip before the end of the year. I'm just going to do it. I have to do it. I was supposed to, side note, I know this has nothing to do with nothing, but like I was supposed to actually go to Arizona like last month, and because of the housing situation and me like, in the middle of buying and stuff, it just didn't happen. So it was fine. But yeah, I'm thinking um September, October, November-ish, maybe December-ish. I'm gonna have to like book a trip. It's just what it is, what it is. But anyway, so they're there, and so Bose already has rooms ready to go for them, and everyone's villas are amazing. They all have their own pool. There's an outside shower. It's a whole entire thing. It's very, oh, dang! I want to go to the Caribbean so bad right now. For those who don't know, I was in Puerto Rico for my 40th, and my highlight was not San Juan. I know everyone like goes there for San Juan. My highlight was when I was in the mountain regions and when I was like in the places where you had to know a little bit of Spanish to get through. And I had me a time. So now I'm like, yep, I'm locked in. I'm gonna go to the Caribbean in the near foreseeable future again. And so this just remind me, dang, I want to go Caribbean. But anyway, so the rooms are separated. So Kyle and Kathy, they're doing a room together. Erica, Bose, and Dorit, they're doing a room or villa together. They all have their own rooms, but like they're the villas they're staying in. There's think 3 villas, so they all have their own rooms, but within the villas they're staying. They're doing that, and then apparently Garcelle, Jennifer Tilly, and Sutton are like in a room together. Jennifer Tilly's reaction, she was not happy about it because Sutton's kind of annoying, and we've seen this in cast trips before that Sutton is annoying when it comes to like sharing a room with her. But no one else really will do it, so it is what it is. So anyway, towards the end of the episode, we have Sutton, Garcelle, and Jennifer Tilly talking, and they're asking again like, hey Sutton, did you talk to Dorit? And she's like, no, I haven't talked to Dorit. But then on the other side we have Erica, Bose, and Dorit talking like, hey, have you talked to Sutton? It's like, no. And Dorit is lying to all of us, like gaslighting all of us, saying she doesn't want to argue. She wants everything to be good, and she really wants things to be cool, even though she just constantly will antagonize freaking, Sutton. So we know that's not child. Yeah. Anyway, she's saying all that to them, while on the other side, Son's like, I just don't trust things with Dorit right now. I just don't trust it. Sorry. She's like, yeah, I don't trust things. And so Garcelle's like, she has this twinkle in her eye. And so then out of nowhere, like Sutton actually starts breaking down and stating that she's just so tired. And it's not about Dorit. I think it's her trying to be accepted in this group. It's about her being accepted in this group. And if you knew Sutton's story, you knew that's what it was this whole entire time. That it was all about Sutton being accepted in his group. But it's not just about Sutton being accepted in his group. Yeah, so it's never been about sorry, my apologies. Oh my gosh, I had a coughing spell. But yeah, it's never been about Sutton being accepted just with this group. Sutton doesn't feel accepted, period. We know that. We found out with the rhobh thing, that is her, period. She doesn't feel accepted. So she overcompensates with money. She overcompensates with things that will make her feel like that she is accepted. And she even admits, she's like, the only person in this group who's ever had my back is Garcelle. That is it. And Garcelle, she feels bad for her because, like, I feel like Garcelle, to a certain degree, she kind of held herself back from this group because I think the rest of the group actually would have always, like, I don't know if Garcelle would have been as much of an outsider if, like, Sun and her wouldn't have, like, been bonded, because Erica has been trying to get Garcelle away from Sun from day one, and I think she really wanted a friendship with Garcelle, like, I genuinely, and I think that's why Erica acts the way she acts when it comes to Garcelle, because I think she always really wanted a friendship with Garcelle, but she can't have that and never will because of Sutton, and because Erica can't stand Sutton. So there's also that. And Jennifer Tilly also, she does admit, she's like, look, this group is very, very intimidating. And one thing also about this group is cliquey. And it's like, yeah, that's obvious. And like, but like, she's like, honestly, I had this delusional feeling when I joined, that thinking like, oh, we're going to be a sisterhood. This is going to be a thing. And it's not that. It's very, very cliquey. And it's intimidating. And that's wild that Jennifer Tilly feels intimidated by this group. The one whose money is moneying outside of Kathy. Like, her money is long and she's intimidated by this group. But, I mean, we knew that even when Crystal was with this group. Even with, like, it's happened every season whenever there's someone who's somewhat new joining the group. It's a thing. Bose doesn't feel that way because I think Bose, she has a different presence about her where she's like, I don't need, like, Bose is a different kind of animal, which I think that's why with Bose, she's like a breath of fresh air, because she doesn't feel that way compared to all the other women. But because Bose also, her status is different compared to a lot of these women. Like, Bose is like in the same field, like the same playing field, like a level playing field of like a Kathy Hilton and like a Jennifer Tilly. But it's crazy that even Jennifer Tilly feels that way because she's even on that same playing field as a Bose and a Kathy Hilton. But yeah, I don't know, that last part of this show, this really the St. Lucia part of the show was a part of the show where I was finally locked in. I was like, okay, now we're getting somewhere. So I'm looking forward to next episode. I'm definitely looking forward to next episode because also with whenever the cast trips are happening, the older shows minus New York, nice reboot in New York. All the other shows, the Real Housewives shows, they know how to do the cast trips. The cast trips is where the things typically pop off. But anyway, that does conclude the episode for today. I know I did something a little bit different this time around, but honestly, if I wouldn't have done it this way, I think this would have been a very short, this review would have been like maybe 10 minutes. I ain't gonna hold you. Because I was kind of bored. So I tried to do something to kind of make it do what it do. But anyway, that does conclude the episode. Please like, comment, subscribe to the channel if you get anything out of the content. It's your girl Sharon, aka the Melanin Nostalgic Runner. And I will see you next time. Bye.